The last of the tools we're going to look at, and I don't want to say I saved the best for last because I really haven't. All these tools are really cool, but this one's pretty unique. It's called the mesh tool. Mesh tool's been there for a couple of years. It's not new, but I call it the amazing mesh tool because it takes something. It takes gradients and stands them on their head. If you think the gradient tool in Illustrator is amazing, which I don't, it's got linear and it's got radial gradients, big deal. This tool is like the gradient tool on steroids, and I'm not kidding. I got 3 examples in this layer, got a couple more I want to show you. First one, I've got a blue-tipped paintbrush, and I want the paintbrush to look a little bit more three-dimensional, kind of like I did with the linear standard gradient that I did to the handle. How do I do that? Pick up the gradient mesh tool, it's right here. I've got white as the color it's going to use. You can change that now or later. We'll leave it at white, that's what we want. Come over here to about here and just pop it one time. Look at that. What you've done is create a very simple gradient mesh, but the illusion is three-dimensional because our mind's key to three-dimensional shapes on a two-dimensional surface by looking at things like shading. Now we can do the same thing over here. Just moving down through these things. Come to about here and click here. Boom. Instant circular ball. Using white, again, we can use any color. I've got a better example of that kind of stuff coming up. This one over here, same idea. This time we'll choose a different color though. Pick a different color. Come over here and click. Notice what it tries to do. It tries to follow the stroke that was created by the star. And it's doing the same thing here and here. You can add more points if you want to. Create some pretty interesting shapes once you get into it. As you can see, it's creating all these different areas. Now that one's not all that great. Let's get out of here. And let me show you this one right here. We're starting with a relatively simple shape that I made with the pen tool. It's a butterfly. What I want to do is color the wings, and we're going to use the mesh tool to make that happen. So we're going to pick up the mesh tool over here. Click right about here. Doesn't really matter. Choose a spot, click. We're going to come over to the other side. Notice it made a line going this way and a line going up and down. Get about in the same spot on this side and click again on the line. Now when you do, it creates another corresponding line for the mesh. How complicated do you want this thing? Every time you click, it will make more lines for you. The grid gets more and more and more complex. Let's go ahead and stop there. How do we change their colors? That's actually very simple. Come over to the point you want to change. Touch it. Now this might be hard for you to see, but there's a little plus sign next to my cursor. When that goes away, you're over the node, you click, you select it. Then choose a color. And it begins filling the areas with the color and looking at the others to decide what to do and when to end. All the other ones right now are filled with white. If I click this one right here, which is a white, they were all white to begin with, I then begin blending colors. So what I'm doing is basically, well, blending colors on this wing. You can make this as complicated as you want it to be. You can do anything you want. You can literally put hundreds of grid points on this thing if that's what you want to do. I mean, it really is totally up to you what you want to see. Well, when you get done, actually, you can do some pretty cool stuff. The mesh tool takes the gradient tool, like I said, and stands it on its head. Let me show you one that we wouldn't have had time to actually do. Now, if you want to go crazy and take the mesh tool to places that no one even wants to go to, here you go. This is a gradient mesh. As you can see, the pieces are mesh. Took a little bit more time to do something like this than we have time for in class, but if you've got the time and you've got the practice with this tool, you can take the amazing mesh tool to places that maybe no one has ever gone before.